Welcome back or welcome. And in this part, we're going to be looking at, we've already seen the thief's stealth mode and her stealth kill. And let's look at a couple of traps for her. Because, like I said, I wanted her to be like stealth and traps. And maybe throwables. Maybe we'll add like throwing Molotovs or something like that too. But anyway, yeah, let's look at two traps I put in for her. All right. And before I get started, all right, I just want to say thank you to all the recent subscribers and all of the subscribers in general. You guys absolutely rock. You've been killing it, and I just appreciate it. You guys are the best. All right. And let's get into it here. So, if you notice, I took that button off of here because I want these to display what skills you're using for the right and left mouse button. Although I'm not yet, that's what I want to do, and I removed the button for that. And I moved it over here. So we got I for inventory, which again, we're not into yet. We're not done. I want to get all the characters done before we really start the inventory. Then M for the menu, and then S brings up skills. And I made a panel for her, which she didn't have in the last one. And you can click stealth and go into stealth mode. All right. Or you can click poison trap or an explosion trap. Now, stealth kill, it's going to have like a little arrow showing that it's part of stealth. It's not, you'll be able to skill it up, but you don't have to select it because once you're stealth, you'll have stealth kill available. And, but I added two traps, the poison trap and the explosion trap. So let's see the explosion trap, poison. So if you select it, like I just did, and then you click on the ground, it'll place it. All right, and that's a model I made real quick in Blender to kind of look like a trap they would set off. And then if I click explosion, I can place it, say, on here, and that's the explosive trap right there. And I made that in Blender as well, real quick. And those are the two traps. So let's use them one at a time and see how they fare with her. All right, so we'll go up, get a little closer. Pick a poison trap, set it down like there. Go get their attention. Woo! And boom! Sets off poison cloud, and they start choking, turn green, and then die. And obviously, if they had more health, they would just turn green and kind of choke out and then come after me again while losing health while poisoned. You know, but these guys don't have a lot of health. All right. And now let's see the explosive trap. All right. So again, I'm going to select the menu, select explosive trap, come in a little closer and place it maybe right there. Oop, come get me. Yeah, and you're dead. So that's the traps. And if you want to see what they kind of look like, here's the explosive trap. I call it the E trap. And again, just made it in Blender real quick. And oh, I didn't mean to hit play. I'm tired. It's been a long day. So yeah, that's the trap. And it's just the model. And on the model, it has a mesh renderer, a box collider, which is set to a trigger. And that's the trigger area, made it a little bigger so easier to set off. And then it's got a script on it called Explode Trap, just like the Poison has one on it called Poison Trap. Then it has a rigid body, and I set the rigid body to not use gravity and be kinematic, left everything else default. Because when you're doing trigger events, one of the objects needs to have a rigid body and the enemies don't. So I give the traps the rigid body and just made it kinematic and no gravity. All right. And then an audio source to play the explosion sound. And it's got that material on it. So that is the trap. And like I said, if I bring the poison trap in right there, you can see it's basically set up the same way. Looks just a little different, but set up the same way. It's got a mesh renderer, box collider set as a trigger. The poison trap script this time, the rigid body set up the same way, kinematic, no gravity, and the audio source to play the sound. So why don't we check out the code real quick for the poison trap here. And it's not long, it's under 40 lines of code. And again, we have the private audio source, and we declare it in start to be the audio source sound. Then we have a public particle system, which is right here. The poison trap sets off this particle system. Once they walk into it, it's just like a poison cloud. All right. And the E trap has this particle system. And it's kind of got like a, yeah, well, you can see it's an explosion. So those are the particle systems on it. Yeah. And so the poison one has this public particle system I call poison, and I just dragged my particle effect into that slot. And I set the main part of the particle effect right here, to not play on awake. So that way I can call it through code and play it when I want to. Because it's always going to be on the trap when you set it, so you don't want it just playing automatically. So I took off the play on awake, and then I set it through code here. So it has no update function, doesn't need one. It just checks for trigger events on this private void on trigger enter, collider other, and then it checks to see if it's an enemy, because it's checking the enemy layers. And if it is an enemy, it says poison.play, which is the particle effect. We play the particle effect now that an enemy has triggered it. And then we have the sound play, which is the audio source sound up here that we declared in start. So we play the particle effect and the sound. Then we get the mesh renderer and the collider and enable them to false. This way you can't see it or trigger it again. And I can keep it around for the particle effect and sound to play, and then destroy it after a few seconds. And then we get collider array called hits physics overlap sphere. I have it set to 8 for a radius right now, and it's checking the enemy layers. And for each collider it hits, it gets the enemy AI script off that enemy right here we set. And it sets the initial attack damage. Now for the poison, I set the initial attack damage to 1, because they're going to take damage over time. And then I tell them to take the damage, the initial damage, and then I say enemy.start poison. So in their script, their enemy script, they have a function called start poison, which means they've been poisoned and it's going to take care of that code. And I say start poison here after they trigger. And then we set the enemy agent speed to 0, and because we want them to stop moving for a second. And then we set enemy.anim.play choke. Okay, and I set it to be a random dot range of 0 and 5. So in the choking animation, I want them to start on a different random frame each, so it doesn't look so uniformed. So I tell them to play the choking animation, and then I say pick a random range for a frame between 0 and halfway through the animation. All right, so that way it's not so uniform. And then we destroy the trap after 5 seconds. And then the explosion trap, basically the same thing. We got the sound, the particle effect that we can drag into the inspector called trap explosion. We get the sound and start. We check to see if enemies have set off the on trigger enter. There's no update again. And we do the same things, except this time we play the trap explosion particle effect. And we do the same thing with the mesh renderer and collider, enable them to false. Then we do our overlap sphere physics check called hits and check for any enemies within that radius of 8. And this time we give them an initial attack damage of 100 because it's an explosion and it's not a kind of passive taking away health like poison is. And then we say enemy take damage and destroy the game object after 5 seconds. So as you can see, it's real short code. All right, and in enemy AI, all right, the take damage. Maybe it's in this update. Maybe I put it in this update. Yeah. All right. So in their take damage, we have them play the hit. Sound up pitch, current health, update health bar. If chilled equals true, chill enemy. Because that's what they're doing. It's a coroutine for the poison. And I'm just trying to see where you know what? I think I might do it actually in the poison trap thing, right? Yeah, enemy start poison. So I start the poisoning here. So, like I said, it's been a long day. So if we go down to the bottom here, we got the public void start poison. Since I'm using an I enumerator to take away the damage, and you can't start an I enumerator from another script like you can a function, I just created a function called start poison, and that function starts the coroutine poison enemy. So in the public I enumerator poison enemy, we get the skinned mesh renderers because there's more than one on this particular enemy. And then we set their materials to green. And then down here for the poison length, we set a poison length equals poison duration. And poison duration is right here. I've got to set to 6. And we got the poison material up here, which is just the base material but tinted green. And then, so we set their material to green, and then we set this float poison length equals poison duration. And while poison length is greater than 0, then we take away health. So we say take damage 10. So they're taking 10 damage every time this goes off, which is 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds, they're taking 10 damage from poison. And they'll do that for a length of 6 seconds. And then we set poison length minus equals to 1. So we can end this loop after 6 seconds. And then it checks the renderers again and sets their materials back to their original material. So that's the poison enemy I enumerator right there. And that's that. That's traps. We got the explosion trap and the poison trap. So far she's coming out good. She's close to being enabling me to move on to someone else because even though all of these will probably have a lot more skills and stuff and spells, I want to kind of get them all in and playable with a couple, and then we can move on to things like the inventory, um, and we can add skills and spells as we go. So, so yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this one, and again, thank you to all you subscribers. You guys absolutely rock, and you know, kudos to you. And if you're not subscribed, hey, what are you waiting for? Go hit that subscribe button now and the bell and get notified when the next part in this series comes out. And and please take a second to go like the video. Okay, show your support for this channel and the content I'm trying to bring you by clicking the like button. It takes 2 seconds. All right, so I mean, imagine the work I'm putting in to actually not only make this project, but then I got to make the videos, and all I'm asking you to do is move the mouse over the like button and click it. Takes 2 seconds. So show your support, click the like button, leave me a comment and tell me what you think so far. Uh, Leave a comment and give any ideas for like traps. Okay, if you have an idea for a trap you'd like to see, let me know and maybe I'll do it. Somebody commented about the stealth. And I appreciate that. I appreciate all comments. And he said, you know, why don't you do it like World of Warcraft, where if you're behind them, they don't see you, and if you're in front of them, you can be stealthed up to like, 3 feet away or whatever. But that's not what I wanted for mine. I mean, feel free to do that in yours if you're following along and trying to make a Diablo-like game of your own. Feel free to do that in yours, but that's not what I wanted for mine. But I do appreciate the comment and the suggestion. So if you have any suggestions for spells, traps like that, put them in the comments. And hey, you might see them come to life in this series. And yeah, so that's enough of me blabbering. And until next time, peace out, y'all.